Sports Lounge 273. What is it? Almost the week before Christmas. We're
yes,
9 days before Christmas Day. 9 days before Christmas Day.
And all through the house.
And all creatures where'd you get that sweater, Stacking?
It's not a sweater. It's just a shirt that I have. A long sleeve T-shirt. I've had this for over a decade. I really like it.
Looks new. Still looks new.
Thank you. That's the power of Tide and Downy.
Good. SDSU had a bunch of things go on. They had the Oregon women play. They had the Nevada game last night, which was all right. They had the North Dakota State football game, which wasn't very good.
Nope.
Nobody expected them to win any of these games, so I've heard things people say was a bad week. I mean, it was a big week for what it could have been if just one of those teams would have won. It would have been the biggest win in that respective sports history.
Mm-hmm.
But neither of them did win. Women came the closest. Men came pretty damn close. Football had a chance here or there. So by no means do I say it was a disappointment. Things, they were playing with house money.
It was certainly. I was just going to say, it certainly was the biggest week. I think it was disappointing that, because everyone was hopeful that something would have happened.
To win any of these games,
no. Well, the NDSU game maybe slightly. The women against Oregon, I would say, would have been second, and the men's basketball third. And I would say the men's basketball team arguably had the best chance to win. I mean, they were up by 7 at half over Nevada, and if Mike Daum could have, he picked his, the wrong night to have his worst shooting game in, I don't know, maybe his entire career. I mean, that was not good. So I think everyone was very hopeful. Like, this could be something really special, and it was the biggest week. But, yeah, like you said, I mean, what happened or what was expected to happen happened. So
I didn't watch a ton of this football game. I understand there were a few calls, maybe they didn't go their way, but it just looked like North Dakota State just thoroughly outplayed SDSU with the running game in the end. So one person had a post that said, they're not a Vikings fan, but the Jacks are their Vikings because of how disappointing things are.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, I know. It was Wyatt. And Beck said the same thing, but they weren't. This isn't the Vikings. The Vikings were expected to win. They were expected to beat the Falcons. They fumbled 6 times against the Saints. This isn't. They missed the field goals in games in which they're the better team.
They also
SDSU's not the better team.
And the Vikings don't go against the Patriots every game or every year, and you're not going against the best every year. The
Vikings, these crushing Vikings losses are games in which they are favorites.
Yes.
SDSU's never been a favorite against North Dakota State, so that's I'd say an inaccurate comparison.
I would agree, because NDSU is the best at what they do, FCS football, and to have to go up there and try and beat them. Like, I don't think anyone expected SDSU to really even be in this position this year after last year losing Goddard and Wenicky. How are they going to replace him? Taryn Christian played out of his mind this year. I think he's proved that he should at least get a look from some NFL scouts. I doubt that'll happen. But no, I mean, people say this is the best NDSU team ever at the D1 era, which is high praise. I mean, think about they've had teams with Carson Wentz and, going back to the Brock Jensen era. I mean, this is high praise for this team, with the Lance Dunns and, Easton Sticks of the world and whatnot. I mean, I think certainly SDSU had a chance in this game. After the missed field goal, it would have been nice to get a touchdown there. And the officiating in the first half was atrocious. 2 late hits on Taryn Christian and no flags. Fair catch interference that I still have an issue with because the guy is to the side of him. I don't. That's a 14-point.
SDSU or what?
They did. Yep.
But he didn't touch him or didn't touch him?
It didn't look like the guy that it touched it. He didn't give him enough space, I think, is how they had defined it. But I think that was a very ticky-tack call, and the Jacks had because it was a muffed punt and the Jacks recovered it. They would have had 1st and goal, I think, at the 7, and instead NDSU got it with the fair catch interference, I think, past the 30, and then they score a touchdown, and it's 14-7. So, I mean, that's a 14-point swing, arguably. And I'll tell you, I wasn't a big believer in Easton Stick, but he showed me a lot in this game. I think he does have a potential in the NFL, probably not as a starter, but certainly I think he could be a viable backup somewhere. But no, I mean, SDSU wasn't. They shouldn't have been expected to win this game. Plus, you have on top of that Chris Kleiman leaving for Kansas State, and it's the last game of his, like, in the Fargo Dome, and no one wants to see him lose. He was, I guess, very transparent with his with the team about, hey, I'm thinking, this is what's going on. I'm interested. We'll see what happens. Craig Bull, I guess, did some shady shit when he got the job at Wyoming. So it was just a very open communication with the team, and I think everyone kind of respected Kleiman for that. So, I mean, when you have that attitude, that atmosphere, no. Long story short, SDSU is not the Vikings. They weren't expected to win. And I guess there were a bunch of people in Fargo that thought SDSU was going to win. I'm like, what? Yeah. Oh,
so these people are dumber than we think they are, and we think they're.
Yeah, it was like, oh, they're going to win. I'm like, what the hell are you smoking? Like this? No,
I think they were probably even like a 10 or 14-point favorite. I think they were double-digit favorites.
I think they're. I don't know what why they were possibly thinking that SDSU. Like, yes, maybe this was SDSU's best chance, but are you all that worried? I think you could maybe say I could see it happening, but don't have to be concerned. I'd still take NDSU to win. How could you, until they lose, how can you pick against them?
They're probably, I don't know, like at least the 40th best team in the country.
Apparently 20 in some polls.
Maybe even better than that. We'll see. I mean, they're obviously a very good team. They have Eastern Washington in 3 weeks now, so we'll see how they do and see if that's a competitive game.
They'll slaughter them. Like, this was the de facto national championship game.
Yeah, 600 yards for NDSU. SDSU was within 7 halfway through the third quarter. Cade Johnson had a great year. Pierre Strong Jr. had a great year. So you've got everybody else. Everybody's in place and back. You just got to replace the quarterback. So, I think SDSU will be, as long as the quarterback can just be average next year, I mean, they'll be right back.
And I think that they're saying that this quarterback could be better than Taryn Christian.
We'll see what happens.
I mean, like Pierre Strong Jr.'s, he was a freshman this year. Cade Johnson, he's a freshman, or maybe he's a sophomore this year. I mean, they're very young, and their best defensive lineman didn't play in this game, and he's a freshman. So, I mean, I think there's no doubt that this team has a lot going for it, and I think it does help that Stig is going to be around for another 5 years. So, I think that's big news for them as well. Helps keep that stability, and I think they've clearly established that they are a top 5 team at the FCS level, so that'll only bring in more recruits.
Jabari Gibbs, he'll probably be the quarterback. We'll see what happens with him. Fans, again, of SDSU, saw one unfortunate gentleman say, 5 more years of this. Like, if you think Stig should be fired, then you just don't understand football. You don't understand anything. From where, I mean, I don't think they'll ever win a national title. They've already exceeded all of my expectations. But to go from a 500 team in Division II to what they've accomplished this past decade, I don't see how that's anything but absolutely remarkable.
What, this is like the 6th or 7th straight year in the postseason? Yeah. I mean, back-to-back years in the semifinal game. Yes, you'd love to make it to Frisco, but think of the teams that they've gone up against. James Madison and North Dakota State. I mean, it's North Dakota State, 6 championships in 7 years. They're going to make it a 7th and 8th. I mean, what more do you want? I mean, it's not like they're the Vikings and failing. They're playing the best competition, and at some point, maybe they'll break through. But I mean, I don't understand. I applaud for the football team for where they've gotten. They are showing that they are a true contender year in and year out, and Stiegelmeier is the main reason for that.
Matt Zimmer tweeted, "This is the kind of performance that could lead to changes as far as the defense was concerned. They gave up over 600 yards. Jake Gentile, I believe he's a former player. He thought that was a stupid tweet, and Zimmer said he's not calling for heads to roll, but the last 2 playoff losses to North Dakota State, they've given up 600 yards. They've been the same, and SDSU's proven they can beat everybody except North Dakota State, or James Madison. They've gotten to the semifinals. That next stop is to get to the national title. So changes need to be made. I don't know. Again, their lead defensive tackle was out, so that did not help the cause.
I do think they need to play better in coverage situations. There were too many times where guys were wide open, like they were playing soft against them. I don't know if they're playing zone. Stop with zone. Stop with cover 2. Play some man-to-man. Blitz a little bit more. I mean, I think that would help. But, yeah, just too many guys were open or, they'd make a turn and then, then the SDSU defender would come in, but it's already a catch and a first down. So I tend to agree that I think the scheme needs to change. I don't think necessarily any heads need to roll. And NDSU is just a really good team running the football. I mean,
there was a guy, his name is Patrick Sabers. I don't know who he is. He's a Jacks fan. He doesn't matter. He's irrelevant. He tweeted to Matt Zimmer, can we all agree the Argus leaders should hire Terry Vanderbeck back as sports writer for the Jackrabbits? I don't believe Matt Zimmer to be much of a Jacks proponent. He fakes it well to most. Again, this guy's named Patrick Sabers. He's an idiot. I don't know who he is.
What a fucking asshole.
Yeah, that's what I say. Zimmer, stand-up dude, he tweeted back at him, and this Patrick Sabers idiot apologized. I'm astonished that the general public doesn't realize that the beat writer is not a PR person for the team he or she covers. Their job is to cover the team. It's not to pump up the team. It's not to act like you work for the team or to code the team company line. People don't understand what the media's role is, so it's no wonder that Trump got elected after all these years. People still don't understand after all of these years. Negative coverage isn't biased coverage. It's just coverage. If it's good, they're just reporting what is happening. If what happening is bad, that's on you, not them. So for this idiot to go out and say, Matt Zimmer should be fired, he has no idea what he's talking about. So, and it's fans like that really piss me off, that are so ill-informed, and they're the most vocal, and they're the most diehard of fans, and they give everybody else a bad name.
Absolutely, because you can't – I mean, the team is not going to always be happy with everything you write, and then they're going to talk to you about it. I'm sure that Matt Zimmer has gotten phone calls from, Stiegelmeier or, coordinators throughout the years saying, hey, why'd you write this? I mean, yeah, you're right. They're not supposed to pump up. They're supposed to tell the story and write how the year's going. How the hell do you think Cleveland Browns beat writers were able to – you think they just pumped up at all good stories last year? No. They talked about how shitty the Browns were, how they were 0-16, and a damn disgrace. I mean, sometimes people astonish me, and this Patrick Sabers guy, I don't know if he plays for the Buffalo Sabres or not. Maybe played for them in years past when they were garbage, but sounds like someone who, as you said, ill-informed. Kind of like Steph Curry with the moon.
You know Billy Stitz, right?
I do.
I don't know him. I know who he is. I like Billy Stitz. Billy Stitz he says that's not his job, though. His job is to report on the team, both games and features. His job is not to fluff them up any chance he gets. You want all fluffed, then just read Go Jacks. It's their job. So there you go.
Yep.
Billy Stitz, obviously, he knows what's going on. Another guy that used to work in radio in Sioux Falls, he says, yeah, he's a professional writer. He's not a fan. If he was, he wouldn't be doing his job, which he's pretty darn good at. So a lot of people came to Zimmer's defense. And
good. Did anyone come to Patrick Saber's defense?
No, because he's an idiot.
Good.
So that's still amazing to me that that's what people think. And obviously he was frustrated that his favorite team lost, so let's take it out on the guy that writes about your favorite team. So Jackrabbits lose there. Oregon game was close with the women. That's a game that the way it played out early. Again, the women seem to have a habit of getting ahead early in these games, and then maybe fourth quarter things start to turn around a little bit. I still maintain they should have beat Stanford a couple years ago.
Oh, yes.
They were just the better team, I feel SDSU was. Oregon's a better team. They got tremendous size. And I guess SDSU was up by 9 at one point early in the
49-40.
Early in the second half. And it was tied, I think, with a couple minutes to go. So they had their chance. Good showing, but you play Baylor close, you play these teams close. You got Louisville, you gotta once out of every 9 or 10 shots, you'd like to win one of these games against these top 10 teams. But
do we agree that Stanford game, had that been played anywhere but Palo Alto, that they would have won?
Yeah, I suppose the home field advantage is worth a few points here or there.
If anything,
it was just free throws down the stretch. You got to hit your free throws.
And I'm not disparaging the women's team by any means, because they have been phenomenal year in and year out. They play the best competition.
This is probably their best. This, despite losses here to all ranked teams, and Buffalo, this is probably their best non-conference resume.
Yes,
almost every team they played is a top 100 team,
and they're very close to beating these teams. They're very close to breaking through, which is very good for a quote unquote a mid-major program who doesn't play like a mid-major. But the one thing I would say is that they seem to maybe have a little bit of that Viking syndrome,
more so
for Vikings, right? Because they're like, oh, you think they have that chance to beat this ranked team? Oh, they're within 9, or that they have a 9-point lead. Things are going good, and all of a sudden, boom, they're down by 4 and 5. It's like, oh, we were so close. But I mean, they are playing the best of the best, and they routinely have chances to get through or to win. And I don't think we should necessarily expect that they will win, but maybe we're getting to that point where we should expect them to get through. I talked with Matt.
They expect to win these games. They're not happy just we got within 5. They expect and are disappointed when they don't win.
And that's good. This is not just like something like, oh, let's measure where we're at. No, they want to win these games. I talked with Matt Zimmer on the SDSU podcast this week, and he said that Macy Miller and Madison Giebert were upset that they lost to Oregon because they believe that they should be able to beat the Oregons of the world. So it's good. I like that they have that that attitude, and that's exactly what you need when March rolls around.
USD women beat Missouri. They were ranked. They probably won't be anymore. Missouri's a good win. They have better wins against Green Bay and Iowa State, though I think those are quite a bit better than beating Missouri. So Missouri's another potential top 100 win for USD. So we're getting close to that 2-bid deal. I think it's SDSU. I think they got a good chance at an at-large. USD is still, we'll have to see how the numbers shake out, but SDSU just has that better resume right now, that better strength of schedule, so we'll see. They're both in the teens right now for RPI, so we'll see if they maybe finish in the 30s, maybe low 40s, once they get to play some Summit League schools with some not very good RPIs. USD still has Indiana, and that could be all right. And if, these two teams, SDSU and USD beat each other, those are both top 50 wins for each other, so those would be good resume builders there. I think Denver women have a good RPI at the moment, so that's maybe your third team to get a good win at.
Is this RPI or the net?
RPI. Women are staying with the RPI.
Okay.
The net they're staying with what it's been, and the men are going to this new deal. Men played well. They just didn't score at the end of the game. Last 5 minutes, they scored a couple points. Dom didn't do anything. Jenkins didn't do anything. Skylar Flatten played great. He's freshman off the bench, played great, kept him in the game. Had a good lead in the first half. Nevada hasn't played great here the past couple of weeks, but this was another game that you would like to get because it was close. They lose 72-68 without their two best players really doing anything. So I would say that is a good sign.
And Dom fouled out, but again, their schedule, yes, they're 9-4, but their wins have been against some bad competition. And I said after the game Tuesday night when they put up 139, I'd like to bank some of those points. I'd like to save some of those baskets for against Nevada. But I think it is we shouldn't have to talk about moral victories and moral wins with this team at this point, not with the players that they have. But for them to play Nevada on the road, lose by 4 against an undefeated ranked team with Dom and Jenkins playing as bad as they did, and Dom fouled out with 3 or 4 minutes left. I mean, that's got to be somewhat encouraging. Now, take care of business and beat this awful Eastern Washington squad here Tuesday night. Wrap up the non-conference with a win, I would say, against a good Montana team. I think Montana's favored to win the Big Sky. If not, they're certainly one of the top 2 or 3 teams, so that would be a decent win. And then just focus on Summit League play. I think that's where their main focus is on. They're leaps and bounds ahead of every other team in the Summit.
Sweep the Summit League. Do not lose to any team.
That would be nice.
There is not a team that is within 10 points of them. It's not USD. It's not Denver. Not anybody. They are. This usually the Summit League has the number 2 team that is close to whoever number 1 is. Not this year. This is, Oakland would have Oral Roberts. SDSU would have North Dakota State or USD. Right now, this is probably as big of a gap as we've seen from number 1 to whoever is number 2, and I don't even know who number 2 would be.
Well, remember when Oakland had that really good year with Keith Benson and Reggie Hamilton? Yeah. That's the last time I think you could really – I mean, it was Oakland and everyone else. There was no one who would really compete with them. Yeah. But you're right. I mean, and maybe SDSU is kind of looking ahead to that, but they're going to need to build their resume somehow. I think the 2 games they would really like to have gotten back would be the Florida Gulf Coast game and Tulane. You win those 2, you're 10-2 going into the conference play. I think everyone kind of expect, lose to Memphis, lose to Nevada, beat the rest of your teams handedly. But I fully expect them to be in March or to be playing when March rolls around.
Maybe a 14 seed, maybe. We'll see what happens. We'll see who else gets in. But 13 seed would be nice. Maybe it'll be a 14 or 15. So we'll have to see. We'll see if Marcus shows up or not. But Augustana, they kind of said they're going Division I. They didn't give any details about when. Summit League has to offer them. We'll see when that happens. So it could be next week. It could be this summer. Who knows? It's they're 2030 plan for the next 12 years, and a part of that they mentioned Division I athletics, and I guess that was their formal announcement without really announcing anything specific. So
kind of shady announcent. Yeah. Shady, not shitty.
And Matt Zimmer, he also had this one. He was the one that broke that. Whenever it was Tuesday night, whenever that was. Night. And again, nobody's surprised they're going Division I. I was surprised by the reaction of it. I was really surprised by the negativity, but that's what it was 15 years ago for SDSU. I think it was less so with USD because they knew where they were going, and everybody saw what SDSU did. But there's just a ton of negative stuff from. They're going to be another centenary, which is, again, defies logic. I've seen that.
Division III centenary. They just bypassed Division II and said, no, we are going straight to D3.
That's just an ill-informed opinion if you think Augustana is coming to the Summit League and they're going to be centenary. They won the Division II national title, I think, 2 years ago. Saying that year, they would have been at least fourth in the conference. I think they would have held their own just fine, being a Division II national champion. Some of it's money. They had some track, $6 million track facility that didn't go through, and people look at that as a negative. Track doesn't matter. The money for me is not an issue. Sanford's got enough money to go around for everybody. That's not going to affect SDSU. It's not going to affect USD. How
will it affect NDSU football recruiting?
It's going to affect them greatly because you got Sanford. Every new building has Sanford's name on it. It's fine. SDSU, they don't need any more facilities. They've got Frost to do in the next couple of years. Once that's done, then they're done building. They don't need any more buildings that are going to cost $20 million. They're done.
Right.
They don't need any more money for facilities. USD is redoing the dome. That'll be done next fall. They're redoing that. They've got their new basketball arena. Maybe they want some practice gyms as well. We'll see what happens. Their facilities are done. Augustana's got a brand new football field in the last handful of years. They play at the arena, which is a dump. They play at they used to play at the Elman Center on campus, which I think is, some people may not like it. I think it's an average facility. It's perfectly fine for what they need it to be. Their baseball field is better than, I'd say their baseball field is maybe the best in the state. It's very good. So money-wise, it's not an issue. Football is probably going to get the short end of the stick here. Probably going to have to go Pioneer League, non-scholarship. So that's probably the only negative. But this move is all about basketball. And for that move, I don't see why Augustana can't be right behind USD and SDSU. I don't know why they can't be the third best team.
Do you foresee another team from the Northern Sun joining? Like, I know there's been talk about maybe Minnesota State. Does that do you foresee that possibility down the road?
This puts the conference at 10. I thought the PFW was leaving. If another team leaves, then sure. Kansas City, again, is a no-go for me. Under no circumstances would I want Kansas City in this conference to drag things down. I want teams that can be in that upper half. I think UND can be in that upper half. I think Augustana can be in that upper half. Mankato, St. Cloud, whatever other team can be in that upper half. Omaha came in. They reached the title game a couple years ago. They've been okay. So right now they're at 10. Stay at 10 unless somebody else leaves. And then after that we can, 8 is the minimum, 8 is the minimum you like to be at. 9 is okay. 10 is fine.
I'd like to see Northern Colorado pair up with Denver. I think, if you're going to go for, I think you got to find another team out in that area. And I don't know necessarily who that would be, but I mean, would we consider Northern Colorado, like, is the Summit League right now better than the Big Sky? Like, is that a jump up, or is that would that be a lateral move for them, and would that not make sense?
Yeah, it's not. I would say lateral move. Well, I mean, I don't expect them to come. So, I mean, Augustana, I think, is a good move. Just I was shocked at people that think this is not going to work. I think we're in agreement here. What things have you heard that think this is going to be a failure?
Well, I mean, just that I was just in a group chat, and people think that, because you have a state with under 1 million people, that you can't have three D1 schools. And
do people think like Division I? What do they think when they think Division I? Do they think of Duke and Carolina and Ohio State and Alabama? Because that's not Division I athletics. Division I athletics is Southeast Missouri State. It's Southern Utah. It's a UC Santa Barbara. It's bumfuck Tech. That is Division I athletics. It is
incarnate word
in Michigan. It's incarnate word. Stephen F. Austin. It is not goddamn USC and Texas. That's another level entirely. They don't have to achieve that level. They have to be better than IPFW. They have to be better than Western Illinois. Right now, Augustana is better than both of those establishments. For Christ's sake.
So on PTI, Tony Kornheiser always has the population theory for soccer. Like the more people that you have, the better your.
We should be goddamn fantastic, shouldn't we? We should be the best goddamn soccer team you've ever seen.
And that's what he kind of says. So it just kind of relates to this whole like, just because your state doesn't have that many people in it means you shouldn't have, like the quantity of D1 schools just won't match up to the talent. Like, look at Minnesota. Minnesota has one D1 school, and that is the University of Minnesota. Every other school is D2. They have over 5 million people in the state of Minnesota. Nebraska, 3 D1 schools. I believe Nebraska has like 1.2 million people?
One football team.
Right.
Let's see. Omaha got rid of football. Creighton doesn't have football.
Yep. And then and I made a point of like Rhode Island has 4 or 5 schools, and granted they're very small and they're out east, but you look at like Arkansas. How many people does the state of Arkansas have? Like 6, like maybe 3 million tops, and they have I think 4 or 5 schools. They have Arkansas, they have Little Rock,
Texas, and Louisiana.
Okay, well, Minnesota
for recruiting purposes, 3 million people in Arkansas. Louisiana's got 4.6. Texas has got a boatload. So recruiting is that one of the issues you've seen?
I think that's
how will they compete?
I think that's it, or they're just saying like how can you have this many teams? Like how are the fan bases gonna go? I mean. And maybe that's not it. Maybe it's truly just the recruiting aspect of it, or the dollars that go around. You'll find people to pay, sponsorships and stuff. Like I'd be curious to see what the true impact is for advertisers from going from D2 to D1. If anything, wouldn't that help a little bit?
Augustana
is it more exposure?
Augustana has a chance to play on TV in that summer league title game that gets, not quite 500,000 people every year in Sioux Falls. So they get that exposure. If their football team sticks around, they have a chance to play in Nebraska and all these other Big 10 and Big 12 schools, and they get their $500,000 payday. That'll help pay some of the bills there.
I think they might even show up on the ESPN or CBS Sports app because they'll be D1. You have to search really hard to find D2 and D3 scores. They don't scroll those on ESPN. They're going to show Augustana and be like, "Whoa, what's Augustana?" Like how many people know that St. Peter's is a college, the Peacocks in New Jersey? I mean, you're going to gain that exposure. I just think
people may poo-poo the ESPN bottom line ticker war on that, but everybody was posting. I think you posted as well today or yesterday. SDSU made SportsCenter when they put up 139 points. Mm-hmm. They wouldn't have made SportsCenter if they were in the goddamn Northern Sun putting up 139 points. So is that worth anything? I don't know. It's just, a million people watching that, whatever. But people know what SDSU is now, even though they still mistake it for a school in Southern California. They know who Mike Dahm is. They know who Nate Walters is.
They mistakenly said on the game Friday night, they called South Dakota, South Carolina.
Really bad.
And they were referring more to the state, but there were just so many. There were at least 3 mistakes. I saw some guy tweets like, "Oh, for San Diego State reference, chug your beer, finish your beer." I mean, I think for August,
I would just like to get somebody on that doesn't, that disagrees, or Marcus to say, what about this? What about that? I mean, the recruiting thing, they'll get their guys. Again, SDSU doesn't get their players from this state anymore. Not that there's any players worthy of going to SDSU. USD hasn't recruited or hasn't had a recruit from this state that's made an impact in many a year. You look at their roster for the men, none of them are from this state. So recruiting for me is not an issue.
And wouldn't it also help knowing that you're a D1 athlete? Like, you're going to get a higher caliber of athletes to come to Augustana now. So is it really, truly a huge issue with recruiting? I mean, so
wherever your coach is from, Tom Billiter's a terrific coach. I doubt he'll be the coach when they're Division I. I mean, that's at least minimum 5 years out.
Mm-hmm.
Tom Billiter is
hell. By that point, SDSU may be in the Missouri Valley by that.
Oh yeah, he's 57 years old, soon to be 58. So is he going to be their coach when they're 5-6 years? You know, when he's 63, we'll see. But I saw that. I saw another ill-informed gentleman that said, "Oh." He tweeted the athletic director and said, You have to move to the Missouri Valley Conference. You have to move. If I would love to move to the conference if I could guarantee that basketball tournament stays in Sioux Falls, and I don't think it would in that conference. But I would love to know his reasoning why SDSU now has to move to the Missouri Valley because Augustana. What the hell does SDSU care about Augustana? Unless it's a 50-mile bus ride to another team. It's another football game they can play in the non-conference. That's less than an hour away.
See, I think that the move to the Missouri Valley would only happen if they change it. Like if the Missouri Valley kind of starts to shift in terms of like the teams that they're bringing in. I've come up, I came up with I think it was last year or something where you'd kind of merge the Horizon and the Missouri Valley and the Summit League together. I mean, you're not going to move there unless it would absolutely make sense, or if the Missouri Valley approached you. And maybe the Missouri Valley will at some point do that with SDSU and NDSU. I can't see them doing it with USD right away, but maybe they would. But no, you don't have to move to the Missouri Valley just because Augustana is coming in. That's ridiculous.
That was women's basketball. They're pretty much the same. Men's basketball, Missouri Valley is a little bit better. So I thought that was just an idiotic comment. Matt Zimmer had had a good 10 tweets in a row. I mean, people were just eating it up and complaining to him like, "Oh, this is terrible. This sucks. How are they going to do this? How are they possibly going to make this work?" And then
would they much rather have success at D2 or like some level of success at D2?
I think a lot of these are SDSU fans. I don't know what are they afraid of? That the money's not going to be there? The money's there. These not people realize how many billions, for Christ's sake, Sanford has? He fucking sure ain't losing money. The last report a few months ago, he's made money. As much as he's given away, he's worth more now than he was a year ago. Money is not an issue. So if that's the problem, no.
Are they concerned that when Augustana gets in the Summit League championship game that there might be 30% of the arena filled with Augustana fans and only 70% SDSU fans? That would be a travesty.
Here's the deal. It's Augustana is not draw. Augustana is still not going to outdraw. Their college is a third of the size for one, and still, SDSU is the main draw, 90-10. And one guy, another idiot, it'll be like SDSU versus Savannah State. Maybe incorrect, but I was told Savannah State goes D2. Okay, buddy. When Savannah State goes D2 next year, we'll give this idiot all the credit.
I did hear. I think that Savannah State is going D2.
Well, good for them
next year. Maybe it was Zimmer that said that.
And a Division II team would have given, and he says, Division II team would have given SDSU football a better challenge than Pine Bluff did. But Pine Bluff counted as an FCS game. So these people, I don't know if they just think it's so tough to succeed at Division I. I'm pretty sure SDSU and USD It's not easy, but they have shown that it's more than possible to do very well.
Do they remember at first when SDSU was like 6-23, 6-24 yes. in basketball? I mean, that was when they had Kai Williams there, and was it Garrett Callahan, or was maybe Callahan was a little bit after that? I know they started to have some success there, but like with Dale Moss and whatnot. I mean, SDSU struggled on the basketball level for a few years. You aren't gonna have immediate success overnight, and you know what? If you're USD or SDSU and you're scared by this, or you see that Augustana is making an impact, guess what? You're gonna change how you recruit. Then you're gonna change how you're gonna adjust. That's the main thing. You're not just gonna sit there and let it happen. I mean, it's just dumb.
USD going Division I, was that a positive or a negative for SDSU?
Well, I would say it's probably more of a positive because it kind of brings more of the rivalry back. And I mean,
for Christ's sake, if they weren't in the Summit League for basketball, shit, there wouldn't be any competition.
Right. It brings more purpose to these games. That's for damn sure.
I don't know if they're afraid of competition or what. I mean, SDSU, will they always be number one? No. But they got a pretty good head start on everybody else.
And if they think that it's like to avoid competition, they should move to the Missouri Valley. Well, guess who's going to move to the Missouri Valley with them? North Dakota State will. And you're still not going to avoid North Dakota State when it comes to football because they're in the damn Missouri Valley Conference. Unless North Dakota State moves D1, like FBS level, and that would require them to move to the MAC or the Mountain West, and that ain't going to happen for a while.
Matt Zimmer, who knows significantly more about this than anybody who was tweeting at him earlier this week, he said this move is about basketball, period, and they'll be fine in basketball. They won't be a doormat. He said this is a big blow to football. See what happens there. Augustana has been okay at Division II. They haven't, and USF is better, so it's not like they're this dynasty in Division II for football. As for the Summit League and the other Dakota schools, how much will Augustana cut into their slice of the pie? Who knows? But he thinks that it's minimal, which I agree with. I don't think it's minimal. So,
well, what slice? Like, what are we talking about? Revenue here?
Money, just money. Interest, Sanford money.
But is that truly what it comes down to? Is the Sanford money?
I would say so. Yeah. He built the football stadium. He built the indoor deal.
Okay,
he built he had the large portion of the. That's why it's called the Sanford Jackrabbit Athletic Complex, whatever the hell, the Dyke House Stadium. That's why it's called that. SDSU or USD, the Sanford, whatever the hell they call it down at USD. Like that's why. I mean that without him, there's nothing.
So it's purely based on one man and one company. It's basically not about it's not about like you're adding this other school. So the revenue that the Summit League, like the Summit League now has to split money amongst 9 teams versus 8. It's about one man, and one company. That's.
Well, I mean that's I mean T. Boone Pickens, Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
Nike guy, Oregon.
Phil Knight. Yeah.
It's one guy at this school. That's all it is. Kelby Krabinoff, he's like, one of the head guys at Sanford, and he's kind of the guy with the, the money here. They're going to give Augustana all what they need. So they're not going to take over the Summit League, but they're sure as hell not going to drag it down. So
maybe they could change the name of the Summit League to the Sanford League.
May as well, and I'm sure
just have all Sanford sponsored schools. Like just build a Sanford now in Omaha and Tulsa and Kansas City. Why not? I know you don't want UMKC in, but let's just bring him on in. Build a Sanford out in Denver. Just make it instead of the Summit League, make it the Sanford League.
And they do have to play that conference tournament at the Denny Sanford Premier Center. So
yes.
Here's a few detractors there. Somehow there's going to be plenty of money and support for 3 division universities in a state with under 1 million people. and they're all going to be within 100 miles of each other. This is obviously perfect, and there's no way we'll drag everybody into more mediocrity. So this is a guy that thinks that, you know, you have 3 schools now, that's going to bring down everybody else, which I don't understand. And Zimmer said they said the same thing when USD went. I just don't think that's going to be.
And where are those people now that were talking about SDSU and what a bad move that was?
Yeah, I mean, and these are the same people that admit they were wrong then, and they say, well, I was wrong then. I think it ain't going to go well now. Who knows how it's going to go, but I don't know.
And you know what? There's going to be one of these schools that makes this move, and it's not going to go as planned. It's going to fail, perhaps. And then these people say, oh, see, this is why we didn't want to. Yeah, so you got it right once out of 3 times. It doesn't mean it's going to happen every single time.
Well, it's silly to think this will drive SDSU into mediocrity. They're just way too far up here.
And, yeah, I mean, USD is scrambling to catch up to SDSU. I mean,
and they've done quite well with football, made the playoffs last year. Men's basketball's done very well. The women have won the conference once, so good for them. And this one guy says, I wouldn't be as irritated as I am if SDSU wasn't in the midst of still building attendance and things. Well, their attendance is what it is. They're not building it. I mean, their football attendance has greatly increased in the last 10 years. Their basketball attendance was more in Division II, and it's always around that 2,000 mark for the women and 2,500 for the men. Augustana
is still more than like half the D1 schools get.
Facilities are done, so that's not an argument. There's not much damage that can be done at this point. Everything's done. The transition is done. Augustana is going to help with attendance. There's going to be more at an Augustana SDSU game for whether it's football or basketball than whatever it would have been. So they're not going to lose fans to Augustana.
No.
I don't get that.
No. It's just like when USD came, how many fans were, how many fans did SDSU lose when USD went D1?
None.
This state is mostly blue. You have pockets of, you have in the southeast corner red and pockets of red elsewhere, but the state is mostly overall blue. So now you're going to cut into, that from the Augustana side, you're just going to cut into that sliver ever so slightly. That's not going to change what people in Buffalo think unless they went to Augustana. This is the only thing it's going to do is change it for Augustana alums. And I don't know how many Augustana alums are in the state of South Dakota.
Not as many as SDSU.
No.
When
SDSU, just general SDSU fans.
Their SDSU's budget was around $10 million when I was there, 10 or 12 million when I worked there. And Augustana's budget is around $10 million right now. SDSU's budget is like in the low 20s right now, like $20 million. So that's nearly doubled in 10 years. Their budget has for SDSU. When SDSU moved, they had no money. Their only rival was North Dakota State. USD was staying. Their football stadium was shit. They had the equivalent of a practice facility, the same as a high school, just an open piece of grass somewhere where they played football during the nights for rec. Their coaches coached out of trailers, for Christ's sake. So I think Augustana is in a much better position money-wise and facility-wise than SDSU was. Somebody's got to write a book on this SDSU thing.
I remember the weight room was in Frost Arena, and it was open to the entire school. But if the teams needed to use it, they got first priority. And now the
weight room was literally a hole in a wall. It was a hole in a wall that everybody, all 12, 13,000 of us had access to.
Yep.
And the track was the track that the damn track team would use around Frost.
Yep.
And the practice facility for basketball was the same as the court they played their games on, that being Frost Arena. There was no wellness center when we were there. There was no stadium. There was no indoor track. There was no indoor football field. There was nothing.
Right.
So I think Augustana is going to be fine. So there we go. As we spent enough time on that. Finally, Vikings won. Ton of sacks. The quarterback had his usual pick six, so just get that out of the way early.
That almost killed their that really swung momentum for the Dolphins for quite some time, for Charlie's Dolphins. Probably why he's not on the show tonight.
Offense was different. Tons of runs. The run was effective. Dalvin Cook and one of his best games he's ever had in his 2-year career. That's all of 10 games at the moment. Running game was fantastic. Cook had 19 carries. Murray had 15. This was good. All of this with the offense was good.
Well, it's amazing. It's amazing. They change offensive coordinators, and all of a sudden they can run the football. It's like, well, where was this all year long? Well, it's because you got a guy who came from Philadelphia who wants to throw the majority of the time. And, yeah, I mean, there were times where the ground game, and it was, I think, after that pick six, where the Vikings struggled for large chunks, and then they kind of got back in a groove there in the middle of the third quarter, and from then on, it was smooth sailing. So, yeah, I mean, they looked really good today in the game they had to win, and dare I say, it was kind of like with the Minneapolis Miracle last year, that letdown against the Eagles in the NFC Championship game. Miami had the Miracle in Miami last week against New England, had a letdown performance today because they gave up 9 sacks. I mean, that the Vikings defensive line feasted on Ryan Tannehill all day long. And apart from one 75-yard run at the beginning of the second half, the defense played lights out.
It was great. All 4 teams that have beaten New England this year have lost the next week. The 5th team, Pittsburgh, beat New England. Pittsburgh will lose next week to the Saints.
They will. Wow.
All 5 teams that have beaten New England this year lose the next week.
That's a fantastic stat. Fantastic.
Cowboys got shut out against the Colts. AFC's a mess. Redskins somehow, they win a game.
I don't know how. I do not for the life of me know how they did that.
Biggest upset of the day, or one of the biggest upsets of the season, San Francisco beating Seattle. So that really, I don't say the Vikings are the favorite for the 5 seed, but Seattle's got Kansas City next week. That's at Seattle. I think that's a toss-up for me.
So. Yeah, I mean, think of the importance that game carries now with the Chiefs losing to the Chargers. Sunday night game. I mean, but the Chiefs need to win that game and they'll know headed into that game because the Chargers play Saturday night, and if the Chargers win, the Chiefs know that they need to win to maintain that division lead. Otherwise, the Chargers are going to –
they got to win either way.
Yep.
Kansas City's got to win that game.
Kansas City controls their own destiny. Seattle controls their own destiny. So this is one of those games where
big one.
One team is then going to have to rely. Again, this is assuming that Minnesota beats the Motor City Kitties next week, which I think they will.
I think they're going to do that. I got a pretty good idea they're going to beat them.
I think so too, but you never know. There can be that letdown, but hopefully this ain't Detroit, man. This is the Super Bowl. Well, no, this is Detroit next week, but to get to the Super Bowl, you got to beat the Motor City Kitties.
And I would not expect Chicago to play anybody. I think Chase Daniel going to get a lot of time in a couple weeks, so I think Vikings win that game. I think if Kansas City beats Seattle, and I think we're going to Dallas, and I very much want to go there. Yeah, I think they can beat Dallas. I don't think they can beat the Bears. I think they can beat Dallas.
And then I will just say that be happy with a 4:30 kickoff start for that Sunday game. Yep. Or well, it might be 1 p.m. because they normally flip flop every year. But the Vikings will be playing on Sunday. I can assure you of that if that is the case.
Now Vikings Dallas, that would be the game of Wild Card Weekend.
I've already kind of thought that the Vikings would be playing at Dallas on Thanksgiving next year because of the Mike Zimmer connection, and they do play one.
What connection?
Oh, I don't know if you know this, but Mike Zimmer was the defensive coordinator for the Cowboys for a number of years under Bill Parcells.
Wow, Bill Parcells. Mike Zimmer coached under Bill Parcells.
I know. I'm the first to break this news to you, I believe.
I haven't heard it in a couple years, thankfully. So, Seattle, Chicago, I'm interested in that. That's a very interesting game to me. Hopefully Seattle can show up, because I hate Chicago. So we kind of know we know the teams in the NFC. We just don't know who's going where. So that's a big game.
And Washington plays at Tennessee next Saturday. They're going to lose to Tennessee. They somehow beat Jacksonville this week. And I think right now, provided that the Rams, who are currently playing the Eagles right now, provided the Rams beat the Eagles, that's the only team that the Vikings are going to have to worry about. Then after the Saints beat the Panthers tomorrow night is Washington, and Tennessee will take care of them next Saturday.
So Vikings could clinch next week. So want that 5 seed. I was hoping New England would beat Pittsburgh. I want to see Pittsburgh out. Pittsburgh was in danger of missing the playoffs with a loss today, and they damn near did it. Their kicker, they got to get a new kicker now. Their kickers cost them numerous games. Almost did it again. So it looks like New England's going to be on the road here. That's exciting. If Baltimore makes the playoffs, I'm picking Baltimore to win the AFC, but I don't think Baltimore's making the playoffs, which is unfortunate.
Why do you think they – well, because they're going to lose to the Chargers next week.
Yes. And I think the Colts went out, and you got Colts. Okay, let's do a little investigations here.
Colts play home to the Giants at Tennessee. That Colts-Titans game is going to be flexed to Sunday Night Football because that's going to be for the final spot in the AFC, I think.
Very likely there. Our Browns are still alive. That's very exciting.
Oh, God, yes. Oh,
if Pittsburgh would have lost to New England and they would have lost to the Saints, then –
oh, no, I think the Browns now are done. I think the Browns needed the Steelers to lose out.
They still get a wild card, can't they? They got 7 losses. Baltimore's got 6. You know, they need to lose out, but
I suppose.
Cleveland, Baltimore.
Oh,
yeah. Baltimore.
I just realized now that with the Steelers winning, the Browns can't win the North, and that bums me out. Oh, dang it! You know what? Screw you, Pittsburgh. Dallas Goedert with a nice block there. It was good.
I think they would have had the same record, would they have not, if Pittsburgh would have lost that game, then they lose next week?
Yep.
Cleveland has
Cleveland is home to Cincinnati and at Baltimore to finish the year.
They'll beat Cincinnati.
Yep.
7-win team. That's a good team there. Colts impressive today. Colts, they've got the Giants. They'll beat the Giants next week. And all comes down to Tennessee. Tennessee's what got
Washington and Indy, both at home.
Unless Baltimore can upset the Chargers here, it looks like it'll be Colts, Titans for that final spot, you say?
Yep, I think so. I mean, the Titans, I didn't think the Titans were going to beat the Giants today because the Titans, for whatever reason, just are kind of a Jekyll and Hyde team. But in a monsoon there in New York, they took care of business today against the Giants. It's good to see. So yeah, our Titan squad I think is going to be our Titans. Hey, we like Nashville, so we're going to own with the Titans.
Well, I don't give a shit about the Titans. No.
Okay.
Nor does anybody else.
Yet the NFL somehow put them in 4 primetime games this year. So
Jesus Christ. So I think the AFC is wide open. I think it's wide open. I mean, New England's not look good, which you always got to, be aware of what they do. Pittsburgh's not look good. Chargers will look good, but we know what they do. Chiefs will look great, but you know what happens in the playoffs with Kansas City. Houston is a 2 seed. They're as intriguing as anybody. So, I mean, literally, you can see anybody in this conference win this deal. I mean, in the NFC, it's going to be Saints-Rams. That's what everybody's going to pick. And whoever has home field, I think, is going to win. And at this point, looks like the Saints are going to have home field. So, by all means, Saints Super Bowl. But this AFC, I mean, can Kansas City for once win a goddamn playoff game at home? Can they win 2 of them?
No.
That's the challenge. Can they win 2? And if not, they may be a 5 seed.
So if the Chargers beat the Ravens next week, and then they beat Denver in the season finale. And the Chiefs were to lose to Seattle next week, but then beat the Raiders. The Chargers would win the AFC West, and they would be the 1 seed. Can you imagine, Crins, an AFC championship game at the 30,000-seat StubHub Center, where only the Chargers would have maybe 50% of the fans, maybe, and the other 50% or more would be the opposing team, whether that be the Texans or the Patriots or the Steelers, whoever that would be.
I was thinking, like, move that game to the Coliseum, please. They've
already said that would not be the case.
That's terrible.
How about move it to the Rose Bowl?
That'd be great. That'd be fine with me. Rose Bowl's already there. You're getting primed for the Rose Bowl, and then boom, a week later, a couple days after the actual Rose Bowl, you can play a game there. So, I mean, is there a team in the AFC that you feel confident in? Because I don't. I don't feel confident in anybody.
I mean, I picked the Texans at the beginning of the year. Then they kind of laid an egg against the Colts. I'll be honest with you. I think you're kind of right with Baltimore there. And Indianapolis has played a lot better than I thought they would this year. I can't tell you. I can't name 5 guys offensively for them after Andrew Luck. Actually, I probably can, but the average person can't. Yep.
T.Y. Hilton still there?
Yep.
That's 2. I don't know. That's about it.
My boy, Eric Ebron.
Oh, yeah. Adam Vinatieri's a kicker.
Yep. So I don't – I mean, who else do they have? Wilkins, I think, is a running back. And
there he is. Hello?
Hello? Can you hear me?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
I cannot stay long. I'm coming from an undisclosed location in parts unknown.
Hello, Aberdeen.
The Wi-Fi is very spotty.
He's visiting the Ultimate Warrior.
I am. But I just wanted to say hello.
Good.
I've got to do some apartment hunting tomorrow. And I missed most of the game because I was driving, but wanted to congratulate you guys on the Vikings' big W today.
Well, thank you.
It was a big one.
Thank you.
Really,
you have a good backup running back, who
Balaj.
I can't remember his name right now. Balaj, thank you.
From Arizona State, yeah, he's great.
They're trying to get to the point where they've got better starters, and then maybe they'll be going in the right direction.
It's probably time for Frank Gore to call it a day, but yeah, because it was so interesting. I like the announced team they had today.
Oh, that's great. The bird and the beard.
They were pretty good, but they were saying, Frank Gore is a part of their game plan. Now he's out. What's going to happen? Just give it to the fucking next guy. Give it to the dude that scored the fucking game-winning touchdown last week. Kenyon Drake, he'll be fine. Balaj, he'll be fine. I mean, I was not sweating the loss of fucking Frank Gore.
Usually you're not afraid of running backs that are older than any of us are at this point in time.
The more of them, keep them coming because he's probably the last one out there. Him and the child beater. Charlie, I don't feel comfortable with any of these AFC teams. I don't. New England's not looked good.
Yeah, apparently New England lost to the Steelers today.
17-10 in just the dog shit of a game. The Chiefs, you can't rely on the Chiefs. You can't rely on the Chargers, for Christ's sake. Houston's there. I think I would pick Baltimore, but I don't think they're making the playoffs. That's the goddamnest thing of it all. If they were in, I think,
Well, Stacken and was talking about it last week. I think we can still get that Browns, Ravens. Maybe we can. I hope we can.
I don't think so anymore. I know. I'm bummed about it too. I think that I think now that the Steelers won, we don't get that anymore.
The Steelers losing would have opened up a lot of things. Steelers probably would have missed the playoffs if they would have lost today. So that was a big one.
But instead, maybe the Patriots get a 3 seed and don't get a first-round bye and have to go play on the road twice.
Oh, Patriots on Wild Card Weekend would be great.
I don't want to see Titans, Patriots. Colts. Colts, I guess, would be your best bet to beat New England. I don't think they would. But and you got Steelers, Chargers. I think that'd be a fine game.
Maybe Baltimore.
If they get in, yes. If they get in, I hope so. And then NFC, all of a sudden the Vikings now, if they went out, they got a good chance at the 5 seed to play Dallas, which go Vikings there. So there we go.
I would like to just point out some similarities here from last year to this with the game last year. Week 15, Vikings home to the Cincinnati Bengals on CBS.
Crushed them. Announcing
crew, Ian Eagle, Dan Fouts. They crushed the Bengals 34-7. This year, Ian Eagle, Dan Fouts call Week 15 game on CBS. Miami at Minnesota. Minnesota crushes Miami 41-17. Both these games occurred either the day after or the day of Noah's birthday. So keep putting CBS on Noah's birthday. That would be great.
And Patriots Steelers played right around this time last year.
The same, yes. In fact, the Patriots have the same 4 games to end the year this year, same 4 locations as they did last year.
That's insane.
Kid you not. Yep.
So Charlie checked in good.
Bye, Charlie.
Birthday. How was birthday things?
Oh, birthday was great. Noah.
What did you
do? We were here. We had grandparents come, other family come up. He got many presents. He got a ball pit. He got a little push thingy. He's got a Tonka truck with Legos. He's got he got a drum set, like a little play drum set. So that was great. He's got a little trike thingy. He had a 1.5 cupcakes. So
cupcakes.
This kid loves food. But he was very good. There were a lot of people there. But he was a champ. And it's hard to believe that a year ago today he was born. So 1-year-old, happy birthday to Noah.
Happy birthday, second kid. Eagles are taking a lead here. That's bad.
Yep.
Because I want the Bears out of the 2 discussion. But if the Rams lose here, then that puts the Bears in the 2 discussion, which means they actually have to play to win Week 17. I don't want that to happen.
I'm trying to think who the Rams play next week.
Cardinals.
Oh, they end with the Cardinals and the
49ers. But the bad thing is, let's say the Rams lose here. They're still 1 up on the Bears.
Yeah.
Let's say they win next week too.
Oh, so you're thinking that Week 17.
Week 17, Bears play first. They're a game back. They play Vikings tough. Rams don't play San Francisco until 3:30.
Well, I think they would move that Vikings-Bears game then to the 3:00 slot.
Well, still that would have the Bears play tough, and I don't want the Bears to play tough.
I think the Rams will pull it out here, but this is concerning. I think for people who thought the Rams would be, they have not looked good since that game against Kansas City.
A lot of teams have not looked good.
Yeah, this has been one of those.
Saints not exactly setting the world on fire.
Nope. He took a blocked punt from a 3rd-string QB last week to get them going against the Almonds Bucks.
And they've got Panthers these next 2 times in 15 days, so 2 times in 14 days. So
great job, NFL. Good job.
So there you go. Anything else? SDSU, Augustana, football. That's about
it. College Bowl pick'em.
I could not muster the strength or the give a shit to watch these games yesterday. I just could not.
Middle Tennessee. I didn't watch much of these games. Watched a little bit of Fresno State, Arizona State. We had the Armed Forces Bowl, the Armed Forces Reserve Celebration Bowl on in the background.
Good.
For Noah's birthday. So I saw more of Alcorn State and North Carolina A&T than I ever thought I would. I saw Middle Tennessee and Appalachian State play for a little bit. Middle Tennessee, dirty team, got frustrated late. They had one guy get ejected for targeting on a punt.
Get him out of here.
And another one, like really a cheap shot on the quarterback. I don't know if that guy got ejected, but probably should have. So Middle Tennessee State, get the hell out of here. Are they Middle Tennessee State anymore or just Middle Tennessee?
Yes, Middle Tennessee State.
Okay, because they're always referred to as Middle Tennessee.
It's a Baltimore.
So, yeah, just awful games to open up bowl season.
And let's see. Yeah, yesterday started, I guess, the deal of there's a football game, every day except Christmas. So football game will be on for the next 16 days or so.
Mm-hmm.
So UAB, Northern Illinois Tuesday, Boca Raton Bowl. Get excited.
I have a lot of confidence points on UAB. I think it's like 25 points on them. Yep.
Really? I think I'll pick minimal points on Northern Illinois.
I went minimal points on Utah State because of their coach, and that kind of backfired. And I put 21 on App State because of their coaching situation, and that backfired. I should have put more on them. And the Georgia Southern Eastern Michigan game was the best of the day, and that generated 0 shits. So,
yeah, A&T boys, they did a good job for A&T.
And you're 37 points. You and Schottenkirk.
What a bastard we are. Schottenkirk, a good start for him. He put some big points on some teams, and all the teams with the new coaches did well. So
they did.
Probably have one more show next week. Probably the last show of the year as we get ready for playoffs. Gonzaga lost to Carolina, so Gonzaga's got 2 losses, and college basketball rolls on here. So
good.
For all
like
the folks,
basketball.
Yes. For Charlie sticking around, for Marcus not showing up, for Nathan stacking and little kids stacking. Lounge to